TNTMTheShow presents Comicast 247. With your host, Pablo Gunner, and I am here to talk nerdy to you about this week's comics, which is July 18th. And I might be talking nerdy about some stuff that I talk nerdy about, which is not much. I've been playing Mass Effect, the first one again, so that I want to earn my tattoo, my N7 tattoo. I want to get an N7 tattoo over here, and I want to earn it by getting all the trophies for the PlayStation, for the trilogy. Now I have all the achievements, and I'll probably get the Mass Effect 3 for the Switch. No, not Switch. For the Wii U, just so I can beat it, say I beat it on there. I'm hardcore N7, guy. So anyways, so that's my new plan for the new tattoo, and also my plan for playing Mass Effect. So I just have to beat the first game on Insanity. I'm already partially way through it. I think I've started my journey. I just got to save. I think I just saved Liara, so I'm done with that. I just saved Liara, so I'm on to the next mission. I think I got like a few more missions. So anyway, so that's how I'm gonna earn my N7 tattoo, and I think that's it for gaming. I do want to get back on the Gears because that's that. I just went to Vegas, and so that's why this is kind of late. And so I took my 3DS and I took my Switch with me, and somebody, I'm assuming some hobo, broke into my vehicle and stole them, because didn't steal much of anything else except for some change, and they could have stolen other things. I'm a little hurt they didn't steal my Ninja Turtles towel and flip-flops, because it's like you could have used those flip-flops, and that's an awesome towel. So I'm a little hurt that they didn't steal that. So hopefully I can just get the money back. And I was very far in Breath of the Wild, but guess what? I'll just play it like I did back in the day when I used to play Legend of Zelda, and just restart from the beginning. Hopefully I play better and faster this time around and get to the same point. Same thing with all the games that me and my wife have played on the Switch. Oh, and then all the games that I've played on the 3DS. My gosh. That's crazy. So many games lost right there. But that's how things go. You want to go to the Sin City, that's how things are going to go. So I'm a little bit tired. That's also why I'm doing it late, is because I'm still on that schedule, but I'm doing it, it needs to get done and needs to get knocked out. So here I am knocking it out, these comic reviews for July 18th, and my grade skill is buy, skim, pass with variations: strong buy, weak buy, strong skim, weak skim. There's also other terms. Probably not. There might be some Tims. There might be a Tim Drake. But anyways, there's going to be terms: contender. So I'll say, hey, this is contender. Contender for runner-up and or B-bow, which is B-bow is back and bag of the week, best book of the week. Sticking one of these right here, the best books of the week, which I just pick one. Now, if there's more of us, there's more of us. So I'm going to try to knock these out really quick. I'm just going to do like quick reviews. Like I said, I've been in Vegas for a few days. I read these books right away last week. Didn't have time to record before I left, and here I am. So I might be a little shaky. So I'm going to keep the timer on, the 1 minute timer on, just in case, just to keep me on time, because I'm going to be skimming through these books, because like I said, it's been a few days, some long days. So that's what I'm going to do about that. But I'm going to try to make them faster than a minute. I'm going to try to just zip through this so that we can get done and we can get it knocked out. Also, I'm probably, until I get caught up on everything, I'm probably just going to be putting these podcasts out raw, so not edited at all. So if there's mistakes in there or there's screw-ups, we screw up a lot. I say we because it's not me. So I don't screw up at all. If you find me screw up, if you notice me screwing up, you call me out on it, send me a message, and I'll send you a free comic, because I don't mess up. So, but like I said, if somehow you catch me messing up, I'll send you a free digital comic. So that's how that works. So, like I said, I'm gonna jump into this commercial break about halfway through. Spoiler alert, because I'm going through these comics, trying to go through them as fast as possible. So let's go ahead and get into this, okay? I'm gonna start with X-Men Gold number 32, and it is writer Mark Guggenheim, artist Pere Perez, colorist J. David Ramos, letter Croix Petit. And so this one just continues the set. It's like part 2 of the last one, which is Prestige. She's been controlled by, not Brainiac, but he kind of looks like Brainiac, this guy. And so essentially they're seeing it as something that it's not. And it's her own time, the Age of Apocalypse time or whatever. And so she's just taking mofos out. And Kurt is finally able to get through to her. And so that's what slows her down. She's like, there's a reason I am not, I changed my name is because I do not want to be living in the past. And so I refuse. You can't make me live in the past. So she breaks hold and she deals with this guy, but only temporarily. So not permanently, but there is some people that she's attacked. So that's something, continuing on into the next one, the effects of her attacking her fellow X-Men teammates and stuff like that. It was pretty awesome. It looks really great. It's really interesting. This one, you have to have the second part. I mean, the first part. Get the previous issue if you want to get into this one. So this one, I can give it a strong buy. And I can even... It's not like the super greatest thing. Like you're not like, oh my God, this is so intense. I have to absolutely have it. So I just give it a strong buy. Here's the digital code: 6Y for yellow, T for tank, X for X-Men, G for Glenn, Z for Zarbon, E for Echo, N for Nova 3, H for Hotel, W for Wolverine, F for Fabian. And I'm also going to be covering some DC books, so I'm going to open up my files and check them out. So I'm going to get into Green Lanterns number 51. And we have it's Dan Jurgens, actually. Dan Jurgens is writing this one with Perkins and Hi-Fi on colors. So this one is just continuing like this corruption of Mogo and the Green Lantern stuff. And even one of the lanterns is one of the Guardians is actually dying. But the Marine guy, he's the one, he's also like dying and stuff, so they're trying to save him too, but they're like, something's corrupted in the planet because there's also these things dying in the water of this other planet. It's like boiling the water, and they're finding like it's an all-out front attack on the lanterns, how their lantern ring is being corrupted and how it's just being all corrupted and stuff. It's pretty cool and pretty interesting. It always looks great. It's really interesting. It's different from what's been going on in the other books, so it's slightly confusing because you're like, oh, they could be related, but they're not. But it's really great. So if you're reading it separate, it's probably easier, to be honest. It might be easier if you get them in trade, but it looks phenomenal. It's great in issues, so I can give it a strong buy. Now I'm going to get into Infinity Countdown number 5 with a writer and creative team that is writer Gary Dugan, pencilers Aaron Cooter and Mike Hawthorne, inkers Aaron Cooter and Jose Marzan Jr., Jordi Belair's colors, Croix Petit letter. And so this one actually has Hank Pym, and he's in the Soul Stone, but it's different now. It's like a nightmare wasteland instead of like being a heaven. And all the stones are different now. And so that's the thing, is like Doctor Strange goes to Turk and he tries to take the stone from him, but Turk, he's learning how to use these powers, and so he's able to get away. And Natasha, she has a stone, and Doctor Strange is like, nope, I'm not taking it. And then Warlock shows up, and he's like, hey, give me your stones and any stones you have. And even even Drax is like, oh, let me have this stone. And he touches it and he's like, yeah, it's not the way it used to be. The Soul Stone's not the same. You don't want to mess with it, Gamora. And he even fights her to stop her from getting the Soul Stone. It's crazy. And so he's like, stuff's different. You know, these things are different. So it's not the same. You guys don't want to mess with them. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty interesting. I like how, because at first I was like, oh, this is going to be lame. You know, it's just going to be like, oh, Thanos is going to find out. And then he's going to be like, I'm going to get the stones back together again, you know, and it's like, and do his regular thing, which I will say that last image was pretty weak. Like, I don't know. It wasn't weak. It was just like his face, his smile, Thanos' smile was just weird. So, but the art was pretty solid for the most part. And so, and the story does jump around a lot because there's a lot of stuff they're tying together. It's kind of hard to juggle. It'd probably be better during trade, in trade, but we'll see. So it is really interesting though, and how it's coming together. I just love how the stones are all different than they used to be. So even if Thanos does collect them, will he know what to do and how to do it? You know, so that's a whole different story. So yeah, that's the most intriguing thing. Another one, I can give it a strong buy. And here's the digital code. A for Logan, A for Alpha, I for Icarus 525, A for Alpha, R for Richter, D for Dave, L for Logan, 9, L for Logan. Let's get back to some DC, with new challengers number 3. And it is Kubert, Marion, Schneider, Gillespie, Jansen, Florea, Anderson, Ribeiro on this. And the art does look really great. This is the one, I feel like a lot of my questions were answered in this that I had in the last one, which was, who are the new, like they call them the new challengers, but like there's 2 teams of challengers here. And they were fighting, and you're like, okay, so the first team is the old challengers. They don't call themselves old challengers; they just call themselves challengers. And then so this new team is the new challengers. And the thing is they've been able to stay alive, but they're like weak. So that's why they have this new team. And there's also like a new leader for this team too that's been like jumping around, and he's been putting like this god skeleton artifacts back together again. He's like, it's almost complete. I just need you guys to finish it and go like to essentially it's like the Savage Land, but the DC version. And so they go there and show that. They also show like some backstory of what had been going on, of some other stuff. So about this one guy and how he got caught with this weapon and just the repercussions of that. So yeah, it looks great. It's really interesting. It keeps on getting more interesting. I think this might be the point where I'm like, I think it's time for an ad. I think it's time to add it to the pull list, because it is pretty awesome and pretty interesting. I'm pretty in it, which is weird because it's like it's just regular people kind of, you know, from different walks of life. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I like it. Like I said, I can give it a strong buy this time. Next is Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes number 5, with Jason Aaron as the writer. We have Paco Medina and Ed McGuinness there too. Then inkers is Juan Velasco, Mark Morales, and Carl Story. Then color artist David Curiel, Kurt Petit's letter. And so this one, you get the full backstory of like what happened, how there was a Celestial, and he landed and he was actually getting eaten, not by that virus or whatever, those bugs by the inside, and he was dying. And then like there was another Celestial that landed later, and she loved him, but when she realized that he was dead, she was like, oh, she went to go corrupt all the other ones. Like she got infected and she went to go corrupt all the other ones. So they got all infected too. And so they're like, yeah, the only reason there's anomalies is because of this infection in the earth and the planet that's been there since its core and it's been there for so long. But this is when everyone shows up with their big guns. So Ghost Rider takes over one of the dead Celestials. He's able to control it. Then Iron Man shows up with this giant armor. Essentially, like everyone's showing up with their giant armors or whatever weapons that they're going to use. Oh yeah, Hulk like gets super big, and so does Odin. So now they're able to take on these giant corrupted Celestials, that Dark Celestials have landed on the planet. So it's nutsos, and it looks phenomenal. It's crazy. I love the Ghost Rider stuff the most. because he's a fellow Latino. So that's really cool. And just like that, he's an integral part. And then find out that a Ghost Rider is like a big part of an Avengers team is crazy. So yeah, I can give this one a strong buy. I can give this one a contender. Just keeps on getting more and more interesting. It was great getting this backstory. It was epic. So, but here's a digital code anyways. H for Hector, Q for Quintana, R for Rigoberto, A for Alamos, G for Gloria, H for Hector, G for Gloria, Q for Quintana, F for Familia, 1, 6, S for Señorita. Oh. Alrighty. Let's do some more DC with Batman number 51. And this is really interesting stuff. So it is still Tom King writing it. I believe Lee Weeks is doing the main art. And then we have Betty Breitweiser as colors. And this one is really interesting. So it's a courtroom, and Bruce Wayne actually gets chosen to be on the jury. And you see that Iceman is all beaten up and stuff, and it's this court about Iceman, and like Batman is looking into the deaths of these women because they were a little bit colder than normal, and so he pinned it on Iceman, and he made Iceman confess to it, and it's just freaking nutso. And you're like, wow, so Batman is just beating a confession out of people now, and he's on the jury and stuff. So, but now he's come to realize, like, because everyone's like, oh, it's Iceman, or not Iceman, Dr. Freeze. And he's like, Iceman's evil. Like, he deserves to go to jail. He just deserves to go to prison. He's obviously guilty, you know. But Bruce is part of the jury, so he's like, no, he's not. And we'll see how it turns out. I also love that Nightwing is taking over for Batman, doing other stuff with Gordon. So that's cool. I just love Dick as Batman. I think he's a better Batman than Bruce Wayne, just because he works. He's more of a team player, and he just works better with people, and I think he communicates better with them too. And I think he gets more out of them, sort of, just because he's honey than, you know, vinegar type guy. So so to speak. But anyways. So that being said, I thought it was a brilliant issue, and I'm starting to think that the wedding of Catwoman, Batman being not happening was not so much about those two as it was like the after effects of those two. I think that's even why there's a Catwoman title now, is you're going to see how different of a person she is now. And I think you're going to see how different person Bruce is going to conduct himself as. So I think it's going to be more about like the fallout than it is like, oh, hey, you know, love or whatever, you know. So, yeah, so I think that could be interesting, because I was going to be like, I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it. But it's definitely worth still reading. So you should definitely still check it out. Yeah, strong buy contender for that one, definitely. Speaking of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 307, writer Chips Zdarsky, breakdowns, Adam Kubert, finishes Juan Frageri, color artist Jason Keith, Andrew Crossley, letter Travis Lanham, and yeah, so they think that Peter has stopped this, but they haven't, and he ends up fighting this guy, and they actually make a connection, and they make a connection like inside the mind, soul thing. And so he's like, why? Why are you so hurt? And they feel each other's pain. And so Tinker is like, I understand your pain, so why do you still do good stuff? And he's like, because with great power comes great responsibility. You know? And so they both feel for each other, both kind of like step down and go like, you know, even Peter's like, you know, I'm sorry, I feel your pain. You know, I understand you've gone through a lot of bad stuff, you know, but that's not really an excuse and stuff. So they work together to fix this. And you think like, oh my God, Peter's going to die, and it's just freaking crazy, and you don't want him to die. And his sister, you know, comes to his aid, and yeah. So it's one of those where I'm like, he's not going to die. Come on, it's freaking Spider-Man, Peter Parker, you know. Like, but it is really interesting, and the ending is sad. It's like a sweet, somber ending, and it's not even because of Peter. It's more so because of his sister. So you're just like, we'll see what happens next. It's good. It's really good. I was kind of like, but it is good. So it gets weird, confusing, and doesn't entirely make sense, but it's whatever. So I can give it a strong buy and a contender for like runner-up. Here's a digital code. C for Clark, L for Lake, A for Attack, K for Craven, E for Echo, 3, N for Nova, B for Bones, Y for Yank, G for Gat, M for Marvel, T for Thomas. Alrighty. Next is Justice League number 4. We have Scott Schneider, I think Jorge Jimenez, and then Alejandro Sanchez does color. So, yeah. This just looks phenomenal. They're facing these giant, like, Titan creatures inside the totality, and they're getting, like, transformed. And then, like, Joker attacks, like, Hawk Girl, and Batman's getting attacked by Lex Luthor, which they're inside of the bodies of Martian Manhunter and Superman. So now they're like in their bloodstreams. It is nuts. And then Sinum's John Stewart's Green Lantern ring and over him, and so now he's like the Indigo. And there's like this crazy baby that Garrod has, and he's using it against Flash. It's essentially the Still Force, and it is just crazy because everyone's getting corrupted, and it's just, oh my god, like it just looks like the worst it could possibly look right now, and I love it. I don't know what it is about. I just love to see heroes fall because their rise is even better. And yeah, so it is incredible. I love it. It looks superb. It's great storytelling. I don't care if you get in issues. I don't care if you get in trade. It is gold. It is solid gold because it's like a Doom. It's like a, Legion of Doom, but I'll say the same stuff over and over again. I don't care. Legion of Doom, Justice League book all in one, and it is phenomenal. It's a strong buy and contender without a doubt. No doubt. So now we have Runaways number 11, and it is Rainbow Rowell's the writer, Chris Anka is the artist, colorist, Matthew Wilson, letterer Joe Caramagna, and I really like this one because it's about Gert, and she's like, she goes out in the world, and when she had purple hair, nobody else had purple hair. Now it seems like everybody else has purple hair. She goes out and like everyone has purple hair, and she's like, so she makes a change, I'm assuming, to her original color, and she looks gorgeous. Oh, man. And then there's like an episode, Victor has an episode because Dr. Doombot made him a body, but it was like, a killer body. And so he was like, I don't want to be made out of, to kill and to do these things. And he just freaks out because like his other body was also, he was meant to kill. So he's like, he doesn't want his worst fear is that he's going to become what his father intended him for, which is Ultron. And that's to defeat and take over the world, defeat the Avengers and everything like that. So he didn't even want to be brought back. And then even the ending ties up a loose end, which was kind of odd, but you're like, okay, that works. So this is an incredible book. It just blows my mind. I just love it. And I love Gert. And it's great. It's deep. It's a deep book. I love it. It is just, I feel like it's brilliant. I do. It is deep. It's in there. Like, this person knows what they're doing. Rainbow Rowell knows. This whole creative team, they just knock it out of the park. Strong by contender. I'll give this digital code away. You need to know how great this book is. You really do. Here it is. Q for Quintana, 03, X for Xavier, Z for Zoro, R for Rigoberto, U for Rigoberto, U for, I want to say Umberto, but that's actually an H, but let's just say it's It is. All right. And then H for Hector, 0, A for Alamos, U for Umberto. Let's just take off the H. Why not? So let's see what's next. Next is Wonder Woman. Is it Wonder Woman? No, it's not. That's actually all the DC books. So cool. Now we can just roll right into the rest of the books. Righteous? Sounds good to me. Cool. So Spider-Gwen number 34. Writer Jason Latour. Artist Robbie Rodriguez. Color artist Rico Renzi and Lauren Affey. Clayton Cowles is the letter. So this one was weird and confusing because I don't know. It was, I feel conflicted about this. So you have Gwen, she's in prison, then she wakes up, she's not in prison, she's going to see the doctor. The doctor is like, hey, I'm here to talk about like your mental state of your dad because he's different and things are going to be different, especially now with you. And even they think like, hey, paparazzi's going to be there. She buys a Spider-Gwen hoodie and she's like, I'm just going to be me and stuff. And the dad's like, no, quit being weird, just be normal and stuff. But he ends up coming to her, they end up talking it out. He's like, I just wanted, this dog. He just wants a hot dog and stuff. And they end up talking and stuff. And they're like, okay, fine. You know what? Yeah, you be you and I'll be me. And they work it out. And then they're like, should we go on tour, her and the Mary Janes? And they're like, well, is that how I should do stuff from now on? I don't know. It just felt really weird to me because I'm like, oh, we're going to see her in prison. This is going to be crazy and this is going to be different. This is going to be great. And I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be so cool. And then it just jumps way ahead. Her dad's out of jail. He's out of the ICU. Everyone, like, she's out of prison. It's just so weird. And then everything just rushes so quick. And I'm like, this is the end? Like, this is not the end of Spider-Gwen. And they say, like, it is the end of this title and this story. But she's going to be in other stuff. Like, she'll be in the Spider-Geddon next. But I don't know. And I think, too, even the writer writes, both the whole creative team writes at the end. Well, actually, no, they didn't because they were rushing to finish. But the writer writes and was like, I really wanted to do this type of thing, but I just couldn't find the words to end it. So I just let it be what it was, And I don't know. It's weird. I feel weird about it. Because obviously it's sad to see it go, but at the same time, it didn't go out the way I thought it would. And it's not really the end for her either, so it shouldn't have that kind of end. So it's a very conflicting thing for me and just in general. I don't know. So I will say that I think that everyone or you should read the whole thing. I do think you should read the whole thing. It's 34 issues. That would be a big omnibus, but it would be a totally worth it omnibus unless you got all the issues. And I think it's worth getting all the issues. And I kind of want to get in trade because I don't even know if I got all the issues starting from number 1. But I did jump on really early on. So I don't know, because I've loved Spider-Gwen so much. And I just love Gwen, essentially, and her being Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, whatever. But now Spider-Gwen. So I want to give it a strong buy. I want to even say it's a contender, but I don't know. Tell me what you think, someone out there. With this digital code, E for equal 5, 6, K for Craven 4, U for ugly, K for Craven, M for Marvel, X for X-Men 8, M for Marvel 9. On to Old Man Hawkeye number 7. This is still Ethan Sachs writing. We do have some art from Marco Cecchetto, but it is mostly from Roberson, and then Mossa still does colors. So essentially this one is it's the final mission where all the villains had teamed up. even the Thunderbolts, who had been bad and then went good, and now they revealed their badness because they ended up turning against this Avengers team, which was Natasha and Hawkeye, amongst others. And it is crazy. You see the death of Natasha, and you see what's gotten him on this crusade to kill all of the Thunderbolts, because that's what it is. He's convinced that they wouldn't have happened the way that it wouldn't have gone down the way it went down if he didn't. If the Thunderbolts would have sided with him instead of with the villains. So that, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this go down. I'm totes jacked off for it, and I'm in for the rest of the issues, no doubt. So yeah. Strong buy, Contender, looks phenomenal. It's just, this is what this book needed to propel it into the second half of the story. Because like I said, it had been dragging, and this is what it needed. This is exactly what the doctor ordered right here, as they say. Strong buy, Contender, without a doubt. And I'll give the digital code away anyways. 0, V for Vegeta, J for Jacopo, X for Xavier. I want to say O, or no, it's a 0. O for Oscar, M for maybe, 8, B for Bones, J for Jacopo, 5, and B for Vegeta. Yeah. Now I have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 29, Shattered Grid. It is written by Kyle Higgins, illustrated by Daniel Di Nucolo, with ink assist by Simona Di Giantelis, colors by Walter Bayamonte, letters by Ed Dukeshire, and then there's the new adventures of Blue Centurion, Ninja Art, and read it. So this is just them continuing to amass all the Rangers that they possibly can, get all the help that they possibly can, but Lord Dracon is doing the same thing where he's trying to amass as much power as he can, and so that he can take the fight and control the grid, the Morphin grid, the power grid, finally. So all these Rangers, they rain down and they show up from all these different eons and ages, and they're like, we think the only way that we can get help is Rita Repulsa. So it is nuts, and it's crazy. Like I said, I didn't read the Ninja stuff, but it's pretty solid. Like I said, it's a little confusing just because there's so many characters and there's so many different Power Rangers. But when they stick to the main ones and stuff like that, that's where it really kills it. So it's one I can give it a strong buy. And it's time for a commercial break, so I'm going to talk about one of our sponsors, which is Age of Comics. And they are located at 3700 Osuna Road, Northeast Suite 513, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87109. And they're a great shop to go visit. They have awesome Sentinel in there. Like, it looks like the head is coming through the wall, and then there's a hand that looks like it's coming through the wall. They have is it the Danger Room? I think they need to change the name of it to Danger Room, because it's all the comics that are like the most prized possession. But they do have other stuff throughout the store, like the other collectibles on the wall for you to buy. Like, you can buy that stuff if you want to. If you got the bucks, they'll sell it to you. And then they have a pinball machine, like a Spider-Man pinball machine and stuff. And they have Funko Pops, and they have figurines, and they have old stuff too. Like, they are legit. They'll press and clean your comics for you, like old stuff, or just any of them really if you want. And they'll back and bag, all your stuff if you want to. It's legit. They're legit. They're cool dudes. I always BS with them about stuff, but it has been kind of busy since they got to their new location where they're at. So if there's anything that you want to go into the store or something, there's a comic you want to order, or anything you're looking for, whether it be like said Funko Pops, figurines, comics especially, you want to call them. So call them at 505-884-1776 to get any of that stuff. Or you could try their website at ageofcomics.store. They're usually open from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, yeah, check them out. They're a phenomenal place. They always put out a video of what they got They usually, well, not always, but usually put out a video on a Tuesday, what they have coming out Wednesday, and that's everything. Like I said, figurines, Funko Pops, it doesn't matter whatever they got, they have a video for it. So they're really cool, and they're getting a lot of stuff because they're going to cons, and so they get signatures and stuff from a lot of people. And I think they do that for people too. Like if they know, they'll do it for you if you ask nicely, and they'll work something out with you. So yeah, so check them out. They're great. Getting back on it. I'm going to get back on it with the rest of my books. All right. So we have Thor #3, Jason Aaron, and then Mike Del Mundo. And this one, Hela's back, and they're having a wedding between Hela and Baldur. And he is but he's Carnilla. I think he's with Carnilla, but they're like, to make peace, let's just have this thing, go on. And so like they destroy all these people. They show the fight, the backstory of how it came up to that point, and then Thor's like, hey, we need the help of all the fighters from Valhalla. The only way to do that is if I'm dead, though, because I'm worthy. And so he has Loki like kill him so he can do that. But they do it. He does it like in the middle of the wedding. So they're like, they're like, you're definitely an enemy. And yeah. So, but we'll see. It looks really cool. So it's definitely interesting enough for me to keep reading it. I will say it's still at the point where it's like, I want to say it's a strong buy, but it's a buy, but it's very high up there. I like that. It's definitely a buy. It can be confusing at times, but it's still pretty solid. So I can, like I said, I can give it a buy. It's better than the last issue. Here's the digital code. 56, A for attack, 92, T for tome, 4, C for cable, S for super, 3, M for Marvel, and for Nova. Now with Star Wars #51, it is Kieran Gillen as writer, Salvador La Roca is the artist, Guido EFX colorist, Clayton Cowles is the letterer, and yeah, it's seem of bad stuff's going down. They're scrambling. They're really scrambling to catch Trios. It doesn't work. They're scrambling to get their crap together. What can they do? Somebody does show up though. A guy in a nice little ship, and he's pretty much the hope, and he knows what he's doing because he went to their fleet academy apparently at some point in time. Not that we've ever seen in a movie or anything like that, but yeah. So he's doing his thing, but it is a matchup against him versus Vader at the end, and we'll see what happens in the next issue. So yeah, it is awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. It's gonna be insane. Strong buy, definitely a contender. Looks great, and it's just crazy and intense. Here is the digital code. F for Falcon, C for Cable, M for Millennium, N for Nova, 0, K for Kill, J for Jump, D for Delta, I for Ink, P for Pain, 7-5. Next, X-Men Red #6. Is this actually a new issue? I don't even know. Tom Taylor is the writer. Carmen Carnero is the artist. Reina Berredo is the color artist. Corey Petit is the letterer. And so, yeah, this one goes into Cassandra Nova a little bit. She's like, yeah, I'm evil because my twin tried to kill me in the womb and stuff. And then you see the backstory of this other guy, Gentle, and how he's a mutant, but he's like Wakandan, but they won't accept him as Wakandan because he's mutant. So they're like abusive to him, and they're like, why? They break down into like why he is in pain every time that he uses powers, and it's a mental thing, and it's insane. And so then they decide to go on this mission to finish Cerebro so they can find who's been setting all this up. and they do find out, and it is crazy who they're going to have to deal with. But it's weird because I don't know if it is who I think it is, because I was like, is that She-Hulk? Because she has some weird ears, so I don't think it's She-Hulk. So yeah. Interesting, really intense, really awesome book. I will say the thing about this book is that the stakes are there. They're prime rib choice stakes. They're legit. So but there is, some things that are just like, okay, yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I feel like it's a strong buy just because of the intensity, but it's hard, and the art looks absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, so I feel like this one worked a little bit better than it has been lately. So yeah, I can give a strong buy. 0, 3, Q for Quasar, K for Kilgore, S for Super, A for Alpha, H for Hotel, C for Cable, U for Ultron, Z for Zarbon, C for Cable, L for Logan. Next, yes. Cable 159. Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson's writers. Germán Peralta is artist. Jesus Abertov is color artist. Travis Lanham is the letterer. And I just love this book because so you get the full backstory on how this creature was created, and it was essentially like probably his best friend as a kid, and he accidentally corrupted him with his powers because he couldn't control them, and because he was mad at his parents and ran away, and that's essentially what happened. And so this creature's been attacking him this whole time. And so anyways, Hope shows up and she helps him somewhat solve the problem, and we'll see how it goes from there, because this book is just so good and so intense. I just love it so much. It is just so it's just great. It's just superb. It's a strong buy. It's a contender. I don't want to hold on to books anymore. I would totally hold on to this book because of how good it is, but I don't want to hold on to books anymore. But I will until I announce my B-Bow, at least. So yes, strong buy and contender for sure. Next is The Immortal Hulk number 3, and this is Al Ewing. Then we have all these different artists: Bennett Romero, Hornsheimer, Savage, Brown, Jose, Paul Mounts, colors. So yeah, this one is really crazy because it is from the point of view of multiple people. Like, oh, the Hulk showed up. There's this radiated guy, and it's from the police's point of view. This guy that was in like a Quickie Mart or something that had a dealing with him. Then this lady that's like, yeah, the bad guy, he looked like James Dean, and it's all dreamy and stuff, and then the priest, and how it just was dark and stuff. And it changes throughout the thing depending on who's telling the story and stuff. And it's just really cool and interesting. And I really like how it's just getting back to the basics of Hulk. Like to the origins, the true origins of Hulk and stuff, how it's like it was a night thing, and how it's crazy, but they've added this different element where Bruce Banner can die, but then that's when the Hulk wakes up, and so, yeah, so it's just crazy. It is nuts. So and it's really crazy what's coming next to what they tease, what they talk about. So yeah, I like it a lot. It's a strong buy, and it's definitely a contender. I don't know about this digital code though, just because it's hard to decipher what it is. So if someone can't get it, I'll post a picture of it. So I think it's F for Familia, C for Carlos, M for Marcos, Y for Yucca, A for Alamos, M for Marcos. I want to say it's E for Eleuterio, but it might be K for Kilo. And then I think it's J for Jacopo. And then I want to say it's L for Lupita, but I don't even know. It could be L, it could be U, it could be P, it could be D. I don't know what it is. Then there's Q for Quintana, 0, and E for Eleuterio. So I'll probably post the picture of that. Next is Iron Man. Oh, Tony Stark, Iron Man number 2. Writer Dan Slott, artist Valerio Shaiti, color artist Edgar Delgado, and then Joe Caramagna is letterer. And so this one is Rhodey is now having like PTSD about his own death. He's like, I'm back. He's like, I felt trapped inside the suit before. But you also see other things like Jocasta and how she's dealing with being, in the world. And you also go like AI can't be controlled, like put in a suit because it's like chaining them to something and they can't control that and stuff. And you have to give them a body. And so they give in Friday a body and stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, someone has my tech. I'm going to go after them and stop them. But I do like this tech. And so him and Rhodey team up. But Rhodey's jumping into it too soon. And he's like, oh, I didn't even think about you, man. My bad. And so, but he does take over this other mechanical thing that was made by this other company. And he's like, I really like this, though. I have plenty of room in here. I feel like a pilot, and I feel like a soldier and stuff. So just, kind of soup this up for me. And he's like, yeah, we're taking this. So it's really interesting. It's really cool. I like Team Iron Man. It's fantastic, and there's more stuff for later. Yeah. So and they're turning Stark more into more of a playboy too. I like that. So it's fun. It's fun. It's different. It's a nice change of pace. So I can, not so much. They're serious, but not too much serious and jokes. So it's good. I like this. It's pretty cool, pretty different. So I can give it a strong buy. I can even give it a contender. It looks absolutely great, and it's a lot of cool elements that are well balanced. So here's a digital code. S for Super, D for Dave, A for Attack, J for Jack, L for Logan, 8, N for Nova, O for Oscar, L for Logan, E for Echo, U for Ultron. Next is Skyward number 4, and it is Joe Henderson as writer, Lee Garbey as art and cover, Antonio Fabela as color, it's Simon Boland as letterer, Rick Lopez Jr. as editor. And so this one is great. So she shows up at the house, and her dad has beat up all these guys because he's been training this whole time. And so he knows what he's doing. But he still has agoraphobia. So what she does is like, well, you figured this thing out, but we have to get across the country or whatever to do it. So she knocks him out, and she takes him to this other place. And so he kind of freaks out, but he's like, okay, we're still kind of safe. But then they go outside, and he's just venturing outside on his own. But there's a rainstorm. And because there's no gravity, what happens with water? It just globs together. And so that's a new problem that they're dealing with because he's never dealt with that before. It's really cool. It's really interesting. And it's crazy. I love how they're throwing these things that I never even thought about. Like, oh, what would happen if gravity was just messed up, which would probably include gravy. And you just have a glob of gravy. But anyways, yeah, and it looks great. It's really interesting. I like the progression of this story a lot. It's really great. Strong by contender. It looks phenomenal. Now there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universe number 24. This is $4.99. And Out Came the Reptiles Part 2. Ryan Ferrier is writer. Pablo Tunica is artist. Colorist Patricio Del Peche. Then Life at Sea is Rich Dueck is the writer. Artist Buster Moody. And the letterer is Sean Lee. So this one, like I said, it is Part 2. And so you see Mondo, he goes nuts on these agents of like the Earth Protection Force or whatever. And he like even strips naked and attacks them. But they beat up on him, and Mikey's there to save his butt. So he's like, we got to get out of here. He does lose his tail, and he's like, man, I just grew this thing back. He's all pissed. And he's like, well, it's kind of your fault. They look for all this equipment they're finding, and then they find like this big old like Triceratops tank. And that's what they use to break out with. It's really cool. And then him and Hob have some words and stuff. And then like him and Seymour Guts, exchange some words as well they're a little rough, but they're a little touching at the same time. Then you see Manta, and he's talking to Pigeon Pete about like, oh yeah, what if life was like out at being the sea? And then Pigeon Pete's like pirates, and he goes into this random tangent about pirates, and he's like, never mind, man, forget about it. And he's like, yeah, let's just leave it for us. Sure. So I liked it. It was good. I liked it. Each one, like, I know what they're going for. They achieved it. And even though the second story, I was like, I could do without for $1 cheaper, and that's how I feel with most of the second short stories. It still worked. They still hit what they were going for. So they all look great. And so, yeah, I can give this one a strong buy. Next is Analog number 4. It is Gary Dugan as the writer. We have O'Sullivan as the artist, Michael Spicer as the colorist, Joe Sabino as letterer, and yeah. So we have this guy. He's like a hitman or whatever. He does deliveries, and so there's someone following him though, and he's like, oh, I'm going to deal with this guy. He has this serum, and he's like, I hope it's not expired. It doesn't kill him, but it like messes him up pretty bad. So he gets rid of that guy, ditches him, then continue his flight to Japan. They get to Japan. They have to deal with some people in Japan. They do get loose. They do go to this place, and there's all these AIs and stuff they're dealing with. And he's like, he's telling them all this stuff like, yeah, humans are afraid of you. And they're like, no, don't tell them that, and stuff. And he's like, why? And so they get pissed, and they're like, you know what, you're a pain. And they're like, we're just going to send you back where you came from. And they're like, they're not going to be happy with you, and you're not going to be too happy about it. So, yeah, that's the situation there. Pretty cool, really interesting. I like it a lot. I can give it a strong buy and a contender. Last book, The Weatherman number 2. This is $3.99. We have Jody Lehep and Nathan Fox as creators, writers. Jody Lehep, Nathan Fox as the artist, colorist, Dave Stewart, letterer, Steve Wands. So this one, they're going more into this backstory of how the Earth, there was this giant attack and stuff, and who was involved. And they're like, oh yeah, it was this guy. He was like pretty much like the best operative for like the Navy SEALs or whatever, but he joined this, this other group. He left and joined them, and they had him do this stuff, but then they mind wiped him. And they're like, Weatherman, you're that guy. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, I don't remember anything. They're like, yeah, because they wiped your mind. And they're trying to get him to bring his memory back. And this lady's like pissed, and she's beating him and stuff. And this guy's like, you know what, if you can't handle this mission, you're the best. But if you can't handle this, we're going to take you off it. So they're like, all right. She's like, give me another chance. And they go do it. And this extremist group attacks them, and they get jettisoned. And you're like, oh my God, mind blowing. I love this book. This book is so good. Like the first issue, I was like, that was great. They keep on throwing me for more loops. And yeah, sure, there's some stuff where you're like, okay, this has been done before, kind of, but not exactly. And then on top of that, you're like, not like this. So I'm like, I love it. This has been an ad since issue 1, and it's definitely an ad for issue 2. Strong buy contender. And I'm going to say it right off the bat, this is my B-bow, because it has surprised me, and it looks phenomenal, and it's so interesting. And I like the characters, and all, like, majority of the characters, I'm like, I like them all for different reasons. So I have to stick it in this nice back and bagging here from Age of Comics. But I still have my runner-up to announce. And yes, Skyward is great. Analog is great. We have Tony Stark. We have Star Wars, Runaways. Oh, man, I love Runaways. I really, really, really do love me some Runaways, especially with Gert. You know what? I shouldn't have given that code away because it is so great. But I'm going to have to give the runner-up to Runaways, number 11. I love Gert. I will say I have a weakness for thick white women that have bodies like African women. But I mean, I love African women too, African American women, or whatever. I love so many, super light and super dark. Anyways. Point is, like, I just love Gert. She's amazing in this, and so is Victor, and Victor La Mancha. So to me, I've always liked him too because he's Hispanic, even though he's a cyborg or whatever. So there's that too, and just like his PTSD with like, I refuse to become what my father created me for, and he doesn't want a body because he doesn't want to destroy anybody, especially not the Avengers, especially not his teammates, or any, just anyone. So yeah, that's why that's that. So I'll go ahead and give away Cable 159, though, since I held on to that one. So here's a digital code for that one. B for Barrio, F for Familia, 4, N for Novela, O for Oscar, 8. R for Rigoberto, L for Lupita, Q for Quintana, V for Villanueva, K for Kilo, V for Villanueva. And that's it, folks. Tell me what you think of the new system. I know I felt like I didn't go as fast this time. I'm a little tired and stuff, but yeah, it was. There it is. So tell me what you think and everything like that. I'll probably throw this. Gotta keep that too. So yeah. You can find all of our stuff at TNTM The Show. That's our Facebook, website, Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, everything. Yeah, I went to Vegas this weekend, so I'm not getting much editing done this weekend. So that's unfortunately that situation. But I think I'll be able to have time hopefully coming up soon. We'll see. At least one day out of the week. So yeah. Thank you for watching. Stay nerdy. Planet Earth. Talk nerdy to me and keep your eyes hungry for comics.